Coming up, albinism with John Harris here on ABC Radio. And here's a bit of the Ethiopian national anthem. Again, we play it all the time. Well, John Harris, you have never in your life followed the Ethiopian national anthem, have you?
No, it's the first time, but it is a great pleasure and privilege.
Aren't you a New Zealander?
Kia ora e ho.
And you've been here a long time.
I have, 34 years this year,
Is
I think.
it that long?
It is.
And you came here as a journalist, didn't you?
I came here for a couple of weeks. Every time I went to leave, I either fell in love or got offered a pay rise.
How's Robbie Brecken?
He's very well. He's got his head down now working on a book about Philip White.
Wonderful. He's a good bloke. A wonderful writer, Robbie. I'm glad he's back to writing.
Absolutely.
Having abandoned radio. Yes. No, good on him, and give him my best when you see him. You are an albino.
I am.
What can you describe? And it's World Awareness. There's a World Awareness Day tomorrow for.
That's right.
Friday, is it?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Thursday,
for albinism.
June 13th.
Albinism, is that how you say it?
International Albinism Awareness Day.
That's it. What is albinism, please?
Albinism is a genetic condition. So it happens in the womb where Papa donates one gene, a recessive gene for albinism. Mama donates another one, recessive gene. And in little Johnny, it pops up as a dominant gene. So that means that my body doesn't manufacture a thing called tyrosinase, which manifests as pigment.
Right.
So that means I lack pigment in my skin, in my hair, and very inconveniently at the back of my eyes, which is what gives you a focal point.
Course.
So people with albinism don't tan. They often have white hair. They don't have to have. There's all sorts of. You can have red hair and different colour hair, but typically they'll have white hair.
Yes.
And also, many of them have poor eyesight.
And do you, John?
Yeah, I'm on the edge of legal blindness.
Really? Because you still work as a journalist and in PR, which you've done very well. You've made a good life for yourself here in Australia, haven't you?
Absolutely. God gave me 27-inch monitors. Technology arrived just at the right time for me.
Yes, it did, didn't it? You've always been a very positive person. Do you have to keep out of the sun?
I did when I was growing up. I used to be very good at swimming, so that meant every year when we had the swimming day, I would win my races and then spend the next 2 days in bed with massive sunburn because they didn't have sunblock. But today we had 30 plus, and you just put a good slather of that on and it keeps the sun away.
Was your hair always white?
Always, yeah.
Really?
From the time I was a baby, I looked like a 60-year-old man at the age of 30.
But then I had white hair, blonde white hair as a kiddie. Does it make you, you must feel different, particularly as a child? That can be very tricky, can't it?
Absolutely. You mentioned before I grew up in New Zealand. I went to a school where half the kids were Maori.
Oh.
So I stuck out like a sore thumb.
Of course.
But I can tell you, when I came to Adelaide, there was a group of mothers who'd put together this albinism fellowship, the group that's organising the events for tomorrow.
Oh, yes, good.
And they organised, I got invited out to it, they organised a Christmas party one time. And I was about 27 or 28. It was the first time I'd walked into the room, a room anywhere where the majority of people looked like me.
Oh, wow.
And I can tell you it was an incredibly emotional experience. I felt quite...
Because they knew what you knew and they understood you.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was us in the majority.
Oh.
A sense of community.
Isn't that
whereas
wonderful?
Before it had been me, and I have a younger sister who has the same, also has albinism.
Because black people can be albino, of course.
In fact, sub-Saharan Africa, the frequency is a lot higher than here.
Really?
In
Why,
Australia, it's something like 1 in 17,000, whereas in Africa it can be as high as 1 in 5,000.
Really? So here 1 in
17,000. So that means there's about just under 1,500 people in Australia have albinism.
Which is not many, is it?
It's not many, but you still run across quite a few. I often used to be, when I was hitchhiking, I would get picked up and someone would assume I was someone else who looked like me. And I wouldn't disabuse them of that notion until we were well down the road.
John Harris, my guest, we're talking about the World Albinism Awareness Day today. It's sanctioned by the United Nations. Animals can be albino, mammals particularly, can't they?
Absolutely, yes. You have the kangaroos up at Cuddly Creek.
Yes. How is it regarded culturally? Is it good luck, bad luck, or there's all that kind of mojo?
Well, in places like in some sub-Saharan Africa, places like Tanzania, albinism is regarded as good luck, but unfortunately that means bad luck for the people who have it, because the witch doctors will pay money for body parts of people with albinism. Apparently, if you bring the whole body of someone with albinism to a witch doctor and they're well healed, you can get $75,000 for it. Which means in the past 15 years, something like more than 500 people have been killed in Africa because they had albinism and their body parts used for black magic, potions and so on. So apparently it is declining a bit, but it's still happening. And the worst time is in election years because those politicians want good luck charms to win the elections.
Dreadful. Would you choose it, John? This is an interesting question because it must have been very defining for you in your life. So would you choose it?
If I had a second run, I would definitely not choose it. I would choose all of the other things that would be inconvenient about life. It's a defining thing. You shape your life around what you can do. And I always thought that rather than think of myself as disabled, which I think is a disabling concept,
of course,
I figure I've got limitations. Like I have limitations about how far my arm can reach because I'm 5'10". I have limitations about how far my eyes can see, and and
you've always been a positive person and a good spirit, John, and long may you remain. Good luck for World Albinism Day. Thank you for your candour, and good luck to albinos wherever they are.
Thank you, Peter.
And thank you for the awareness you bring to this. Thank you very much, John. That's lovely. Good. Okay, I love that story about going and meeting, standing in a room with other albinos for the first time. That would be extraordinary. That was lovely.